Welcome back to Up with KREM. Last week we shared this photo with you. It was featured in the Black Lens newspaper. It shows a little girl on the steps of Grant Elementary here in Spokane. And that was from 1968 when it became desegregated. Decades later, her brother is now the principal of that same school. And this morning, Sherri Jones and Ivan Corley are joining us both here on Up with KREM. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we love your story. Yeah, Sherri, we'll start with you here. What's it like to be part of this important moment in our community's history?
It is really, really awesome to know that back in 1968 that I was part of history, standing on the stairs at the old Grant School, looking down at my peers, that we stayed in contact all through the years. And so it's really amazing that I even, from my fiance, that shared with me that was part of history back then. So that's why I put the article in Black Lens, just because I finally clicked that this is part of history back in 1968 during segregation.
What can you remember from that time in attending school?
I just remember that there wasn't really a lot of minorities in my classroom per se, but that was basically it. There just wasn't really a lot of minorities in the classroom at that time.
Mm-hmm. And
during 1960.
And Ivan, here years later, what does it feel like to now be the principal of that school?
Well, you know, it feels very, very rewarding, and just validating of, like my sister shared, you know, it was a different time in the 60s. And then you saw change start to occur in the late 60s and throughout the 70s. And just the work and the sacrifices, the many challenges that, you know, people met during that time, and especially people of color. It just, me being able to sit here today is just saying, you know, that work wasn't done in vain. It was done with a purpose, and that purpose is alive here today.
Yeah.
And such an impactful story to be sharing with the youngest generation now coming up in your school. I mean, that has to feel empowering and really special.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be able to share with our kids here at Grant, our kids, you know, throughout our entire community. You know, I'm pretty well connected throughout our Spokane community, and just to be able to share with kids that you can do it. You know, it does take hard work and determination, and, you know, building those positive relationships with, you know, people throughout our community. You know, it can pay off, it can make a difference, and you can pursue whatever your dream is and become that next leader and change agent here in Spokane and throughout our state and throughout our nation.
And Sherri, you mentioned that you wanted to put this in the Black Lens newspaper, which is an excellent publication here in our community. Yeah. Why is it so important to preserve moments like this?
Because it will help my grandchildren and the great-grandchildren after that, and then just people in the community to see how from 1968 to 2021, how this pamphlet became full circle, with my brother now being the principal of Grant School.
What do you think is the state of Spokane or the Inland Northwest, and what do you think is the next step for our community?
I believe the next step for our community is for all of us to come together as one. And color is no factor. When I was growing up, I never dealt with color. That's why my four peers there, we stayed friends throughout, because I played with them all the time before they even came in the classroom and got me out to take the picture. We were already hanging together as friends. You know what I mean? So moving forward, I just think that if we all help each other, especially during this pandemic that's going on now, it would be very helpful.
Well, we do want to thank both Sherri and Ivan for being with us this morning. Your story, we really wanted to highlight that for our local community. It's such a special story, and one that we'll continue talking about for years to come.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, you're watching Up with KREM. We'll be right back.